Hi, this is Professor Maas, and this is week 8 of MAE 508, Teaching Subject Matter with Technology. And tonight we're going to go over the last set of slides and talk about a few things for the course. And I hope you've enjoyed the course, and I hope you've taken the course survey. And be sure to read the scale on the survey. Some students don't, and then they just mark it and they've got it opposite. You know, they say they agree when they really disagree or vice versa. So just make sure you read the scale on that. I'm going to share a screen now with the slides real quick, and we'll go through some of the material for this week. Let's see here. Let me advance here. There we go. We're going to explore educational technology in a variety of contexts and some of the different ways that you can actually use educational technology. And there are certain things that I have listed here: blogging, virtual field trips, WebQuest, shared Google Docs, Google Classroom, and ePals. So we're going to go through a few of those things. And the first thing I want to show you is about the Google, this is actually called Google Cardboard. And what it is a device that you can buy for cheap, about $5 a piece for these cardboard things. And the kids put their phones in them and they watch certain 3D videos about different places in the world or educational topics or whatever. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now. Let's see, pause share. Let's see, stop share. And I want you to turn your attention to these. This is an advanced pair of the Google Cardboard. And what it is you actually put your phone inside this device here. And there's two lenses. And so they put their phone right in here, right in this place. They close it up. And then they look through the lenses here. Now this one's advanced, and that it also has ear set and a head strap and everything. So you put that on, and then the kids actually feel like they're at a certain place or whatever. And it's a really, really cool, cool thing to do. Let me share the screen again. I've done it with my kids and my students, and they've really, really enjoyed it. So you might want to look into that. I'll go over a website for that in a little bit. Let's see here. I gotta click on this one. Okay. Here's a cross-curricular project that I did with my students, and what it was is that I actually had them take a virtual trip to a place in the world, and I decided to integrate different apps that they could use, and one of them was to pretend to book an airplane flight. And so they could look up the schedule and when they'd be there and how much it would cost and how many miles it was and all these kinds of things. And then once they took this virtual trip, they were to make like a slide presentation of different pictures from that place that they looked up on the internet, find out about the foods, the culture, those kinds of things. And I used as many apps as I could that they could use with their iPads. And it was a really fun experience. I think the kids really enjoyed that. That's just one of the many lessons I've done with integrating different apps with technology. We integrated math by figuring out how fast the airplanes travel. And we integrated geography as to where in the world these places were on the map. And social studies with the cultures of the different people. And it was just, some of these lessons that I created were just wonderful. When we do group projects, I wanted to bring this up to you, but when you organize group projects, one of the fun ways to do it is if you have a group of 4 or 6 kids, is to give each of them a role. Now, this is a setup called the HAT system, and it's on the internet, and each person in the group has a certain role in solving a problem. And so I wanted you to kind of look at this. I've done this as an adult, and I've also done this with junior high students and how they've been figuring out math problems or social problems or social studies problems or pollution problems or world problems or whatever. And so anyway, the white a hat person, you don't really have to have hats. You just give them this role. They find the information that's missing. The red hat finds about it, gives their feelings about the problem. The black hat is the pessimist. The yellow hat person is the optimist. The green hat person looks for alternatives to solving the problem. And the blue hat person focuses on control of the group and progression of what's going on in the group. So that's kind of a fun way to kind of guide your groups as your kids are doing group projects. And especially when they're doing things with technology and using the internet, this works very, very well. Be sure to set standards and expectations when you use the devices. And I've had devices in the classroom, and I've visited classrooms as young as kindergarten, and you have to set standards as to, you carry the device with both hands, you don't touch somebody else's device, and the list goes on and on. But you realize what those rules are once you let the kids have devices in their hands, and you realize what controls need to happen. Here's just a miscellaneous list of apps that you can use. Some of the ones up here that I've used before, that I just love. The piano app is really fun. It's always fun to have kids play around with musical notes and things like that. I really like the Khan Academy app. It has a lot of good things. I'm sure you've heard about Khan Academy. Poll Everywhere is fantastic for real-time interaction with a question that you have in the class, and they can respond by multiple choice or typing something in or whatever. It's fantastic, and it's free. There's also, let's see, what one? Dragon Dictation is good for second language learners. That's a very good app for them to use. Let's see, what other ones? There's just so many here. Then the one that says student down there, that's Socrative. That's a question and answer app, and those are very, very good. So anyway, let's see. Okay, Google Chrome has a lot of ways that students can actually use the internet. And one thing I think teachers don't realize is that Chrome has a set of extensions that you can actually load on the kids' computers, or they can load on theirs, that make learning more fun. And so I challenge you to go on to the chrome.google.com/web store and look at the extensions besides some of the Google apps that they can use. Okay, we are getting to chapter 15, integrating technologies into activities and tasks. And here's a couple things that I wanted to point out from the readings. Make sure that the students know why they're using technology in the project and how they're supposed to use the technology in the project. Otherwise, they'll get off focus, And also ask yourself, is using the iPad or the laptop or whatever you're using, what kind of technology you're using, does it actually promote active learning, or are you just using it as a substitute for paper and pencil? So think about that, and you really should use it for active participation, for active learning, or for actively working in a group and coming up with a solution or something like that. Is your classroom set up to using technology? I had to rearrange my desk, and I had to have two big, long, rectangular desks put into the side of my classroom so I could actually line up all my iPads. I lined them up face down with the numbers facing up so the kids could come in quickly and pick up their iPads by number and sit down in their seat and be ready for the day. And that seemed to be a good method for me to actually use, to have the students use the technology. Another way is in carts. I found that it was better for me to take the devices out of the carts and lay them flat on the table, because that way kids weren't bumping into each other and doing whatever with the carts. Does your school culture allow you to be a technology pioneer, to try new things? And if not, talk to your administration about it and tell them why you want to try new things with technology, because new things and new apps and new methods are coming out all the time. And one of the successes I had was to be be active in being a pioneer and doing things that other teachers hadn't done or tried. And sometimes I failed. Sometimes things didn't work. But at least I was getting somewhere and trying to improve student learning through the use of technology. And also ask yourself, does this technology improve the quality of instruction? And I would say that with Google Cardboard and with the kids, like if you're going to study a certain country or whatever, to actually let them watch a video, a 3D video about that country and tour around that country is so beneficial. It's a lot cheaper than taking a field trip there, you know. And there are ways that you can take field trips or you can take trips and you can actually film where you're going in that particular format so that they can see where you've been in 3D, in the 3D venue. So if you need help with any of those things, feel free to contact me at any time and I can help you. Chapter 16, educational technology principles, examples in a variety of contexts. A few things I wanted to bring out is go ahead and research and find out what other teachers have done in their classrooms. That is so important. At my district, when we started to pilot iPods in the schools, we had all the teachers who did that get together and share what were they doing with those iPods in the classroom. And we shared out once a month. And we also had a shared blog that we could share. And that really helped us all progress together. It's a good idea to try it out with, like, for example, if you teach middle school and you have 6 periods, try something out with one of your classes and see how it goes before you try it with every single class. Because then you can kind of work out the kinks before you try it with everyone. Another tip is to search for technology tools that are collaborative in nature, where kids can work with one another, because that's how they're going to work in the workplace. Most likely, they're going to work on a team. Aim for higher level thinking projects where they actually have to come up with a solution, not just a one-word answer or an essay, something that is creative so they can actually use their thinking skills. And try to make your students producers of media instead of consumers. And when you do that, when you turn it around, instead of them just watching everything, once they become producers of technology, of media and educational products, then they will become the teachers, and that gives them the higher thinking, learning skills. And by the way, that particular topic there, at my school, we won an award for Classroom of the Future for being a school that actually, our goal was to make the students producers of the material instead of the consumers of educational material, and it was great. We have a discussion this week, and it's from an article. It says, which types of technology integration interest you most and why? How would you assess their success or their integration at your site? So if you have the opportunity to integrate different technologies, go ahead in the discussion and talk about that and how you integrate that type of technology. One thing that I got for the iPods years ago is, this was before the iPods had microphones in them, and I got these little things you'd put in there, and they'd be microphones, and the kids would actually dictate things into, or their voice into the iPods, and then they would dub that voice into like a slide presentation. And boy, did that really pep things up and make things more alive for their slide presentation when their voice was really in it. And so that was something that I integrated years ago. Of course, now devices all have mics, so it's no big deal, but I found that that little device to be very useful. This happens to do with how you integrate technology and the different levels of enhancement, starting at the very bottom. When you first start to use technology, or when students do, they use it as a substitute for paper and pencil or for reading. And they look at the screen or they type, and that's called substitution. The next level or step up from that would be augmentation, where the technology acts as a direct tool substitute with some functional improvements, such as maybe using their voice or listening to a story instead of just reading it on the screen. That would be augmentation. Then modification. The technology allows for significant task redesign. So in other words, instead of reading a book and making a book report, now we're going to redesign the whole project into, it's going to be some type of an interview. For example, maybe an interview with the author or an interview with one of the characters, and the kids are going to videotape each other and maybe interject some photos or whatever that happen to do with the story or whatever, and make a little media presentation. And that would be totally, getting outside of the box and getting away from the, writing an essay kind of a thing, which is still necessary in some times, but we're trying to expand their horizon beyond just writing something on paper and pencil. So that would be modification. And redefinition would have the technology allow for creative new tasks, previously inconceivable. So maybe what it is they're going to create something that's like, instead of just writing a book report, maybe they're going to actually, maybe it's about a story that's set in the Depression era or something, and they're actually going to make an app about what it was like back then, maybe a directory of what was in the town, pictures of the stores, pictures of the whatever. So they're actually doing something it totally redefines the assignment, but yet they're learning about the different components of the story. Maybe they have an app that you click a character and the character's pictures comes up, and then voice comes up as if the character was speaking or telling them about themselves, all kinds of things that they can do. So anyway, that's about the different ways to use technology. And you notice the bottom two are called enhancement types of using technology. And the other ways are called transformation. And it's very important that we use technology in the higher ways, in the modification or redefinition, so that the kids can use their higher level thinking skills. Reflective assignment. There are survey questions for you to answer, and you rate your achievement of the course, and you rate the quality of my teaching, or if you've gotten something out of the course, which I hope you have. And I wish I could spend more time with you and actually do certain particular integrations with technology with you, so that you could actually get more of a feel for the different ways you can use technology. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now, and just kind of thank you so much for taking the course. I haven't gone in too much to the textbook, just kind of highlights. I don't like to repeat what you've already read, but I think that being a teacher is a very worthwhile career, and it's taught me a lot. And it's taught me that you need to be flexible and you need to expand your mind, because things change all the time, and they're going to change for these students. And so we're not just teaching them for jobs that will be available in the next 5-10 years, but for jobs that we can't even dream that would be available. So the best thing we can do is to use technology as a ways to open up their minds, and to see that things change. And I often tell my students how it was back when, before I had a cell phone, and they just can't believe it. And go ahead and tell them, share with them those experiences, and so that they can learn to appreciate what's coming up in the future, and all the things that they can look forward to, and the things that you can look forward to. As a teacher, I'm sure things are going to change, and augmented reality is another thing that's kind of just at the cusp of being integrated into schools and things. So there's a lot to technology. But if you ever have any questions about how to best integrate technology into your classroom, or you're thinking, hey, I remember I had this teacher, Professor Maas, and maybe she could give me some ideas, feel free to email me, contact me, text me, whatever, and I can do what I can to help. But thank you so much for taking the course, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your courses that you take at the United States University, and have a good evening. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye now.